Now there's no surprises here, you guys all know that I'm a big fan of my bikes and all the tech and bling that comes with that. But I thought I'd start by addressing something you may hear athletes talking about, and that is riding for show but running for dough in terms of final results. And they have a point, but that does not stop me from getting excited about the fastest bike splits and the bikes themselves. Now, obviously that has a lot to do with the athletes themselves on those bikes, but I thought it'd be fun today to delve back through the results sheets, find out who was riding the fastest last season, where they were doing it, and most importantly, the bikes they were doing it on to unleash that speed. Okay, starting with the men, and I'll be honest, when I think of the fastest bike splits and the fastest bikes in triathlon, my mind always draws me to Ironman Hawaii. After all, it is the pinnacle of our sport, and with that, I always picture those iconic photos of Norman Stadler flying through the lava fields aboard his Quota Caliber in the early 2000s. Well, he absolutely dominated the bike course en route to 2 victories in 2004 and 2006. In fact, setting the bike course record, a time of 4:18:23 that stood for over a decade until Cameron Worth showed up in 2017, setting a new time of 4:12:54, and then again dropping it in 2018 to a time of 4:09:06 aboard his Pinarello Bolida. That said, Hawaii is renowned for its brutal conditions, its infamous trade winds, so with that, we don't tend to see splits from Ironman Hawaii featuring in the all-time fastest bike splits, but Worth is without doubt one of the greatest and fastest cyclists in our sport at the moment, and quite rightly owns that Kona bike course record. So Kona aside, who were the top 5 fastest riders on the men's side in 2019 over the Ironman distance? Where did they do it? And what did they do it aboard? Well, interestingly, the top 2 fastest times of 2019 come from none other than the American Andrew Starykowicz. And if you've been following the sport of triathlon for any period of time, I'm sure that won't have come of any surprise to you. Incredibly, he's actually ridden 6 of the top 10 fastest ever times over the Ironman distance, with his fastest time being from 2018 at Ironman Texas, an incredible time of 3 hours, 54 minutes and 59 seconds. However, he crowns the 2019 list with a very fast and flat Ironman Florida bike time and from Ironman Texas. I've got those times here. Ironman Florida, 4:01:19, and that was en route to a 3rd place finish of 7 hours, 56 minutes and 32 seconds. And then from Ironman Texas, 4 hours, 2 minutes and 56 seconds for the bike, finishing with a 3rd place finish, again, 8 hours, 3 minutes and 53 seconds. And that was all aboard his Orbea Ordu, which is interestingly not a bike that we really see many pros riding on. Teamed with that, he had a Vision Metron 81 front wheel and a Vision Metron disc on the rear. But it wouldn't be a fastest bike split list without a German entry now, would it? And Boris Stein almost rode as fast as Starkey in Sweden at Ironman Kalmar last year. He rode a time of 4 hours, 3 minutes and 8 seconds en route to taking the overall win in an equally as impressive time, 7 hours, 49 minutes and 14 seconds. Yeah, pretty darn quick. That was on a Canyon Speed Max and with a very deep set of wheels on there. DT Swiss Arc Die Cut 1400s. And then Joe Skipper proved that US courses really can be extremely rapid, posting the 4th fastest time over in the Sunshine State at Ironman Florida, time of 4 hours, 5 minutes and 51 seconds. Also en route to taking the win in a time of 7 hours, 46 minutes and 28 seconds. And that was on his Quintana Roo PR6 disc. He had an MV SES 7.8 front wheel, and although it's hard to tell, I believe it is a Revolver rear disc wheel on the back. Well, talking about extremely fast courses, Barcelona has always been up there, as proven by Florian Anger en route to the fastest ever Ironman debut. He took the win there in a time of 7 hours, 45 minutes and 5 seconds, whilst posting an incredible 4 hours, 6 minutes and 13 seconds on the bike. And that was on a Cube Arium C68, which you don't see all that much of, but a lovely looking bike. And he had the Head Jet 9 Plus on the front and the head disc on the rear. And because Starkey holds the top 2 fastest times of 2019, I'm actually going to drop a 6th result in here. So yeah, the 6th fastest bike time of 2019, but the 5th person. This is from Ironman Cozumel. It was from Mikey Weiss, 4 hours, 7 minutes and 21 seconds, where he took 2nd place overall on the rather interesting Diamondback Andean 3. Yeah, that bike really divides opinion. Now, he was, similarly to Florian, a head ambassador on a Head Jet 9 Plus front, but also on the rear as well in this instance. But now we're going to drop down the distance to 70.3, and actually Bahrain 70.3 absolutely dominates this fastest bike split list from 2019. Although it is commonly regarded as a slightly short course, or at least on the bike. So whether you agree or disagree, I'm afraid I'm not going to include that here. So that means that the fastest verified 90-kilometer ride last season was actually set by Andy Dries, and that was over the Challenge Samarin course, the championship. Actually, that race is where a lot of the times, or the fastest times for 2019 were set. He posted a time of 1 hour, 54 minutes and 5 seconds. And that was aboard that beautiful Villiers turbine with a Swiss side Hadron 800 on the front and Swiss side disc on the rear. Interestingly, the only other time that's on this list that was outside of Challenge Samarin was actually set at altitude where the air is thinner. Chris Leafman really made the most of that over in Colorado, posting a scintillating time, 1 hour, 56 minutes flat, to put himself 2nd on this list. That was aboard the BMC Time Machine, and that was using the DT Swiss Arc Dyker 1100 front and rear. And then the next 3 results, obviously all coming from Challenge Samarin. The next one was from Peter Heemrich, a time of 1 hour, 56 minutes and 1 second. And that was on the Scott Plasma with DT Swiss Arc Dyker 1100 on the front and DT Swiss disc on the rear. Then just behind him, Sebastian Kienle, a time of 1 hour, 56 minutes and 26 seconds, also on a Scott Plasma, but now with a Zip 858 NSW front wheel and Zip Super 9 disc on the rear. And then rounding out, Florian Anger again, 1 hour, 56 minutes and 31 seconds. The same setup from Barcelona, Cubarium C68 with Head Jet 9 Plus on the front and Head disc on the rear. And now on to the women, and as I mentioned already, Ironman Hawaii bike course really doesn't lend itself to being the place to set fast Ironman bike times. So it's even more remarkable that Daniela Ryf has the 2nd fastest ever Ironman bike time from that course. She did that in 2018, posting a time of 4 hours, 26 minutes and 7 seconds on her felt IA disc that had been newly released that year. But also, who can forget that epic battle between Daniela Ryf and Lucy Charles Barkley that year? Lucy was riding also a newly released bike from Specialized. It was the Shiv. She rode that to 4 hours, 38 minutes and 10 seconds. However, if we look back at the fastest bike times of 2019, we see a number of other names on a variety of different courses, but not too surprisingly, some similarities to the men's results. So first up, we have Teresa Adam from Ironman Western Australia, time at 4 hours, 32 minutes and 52 seconds. She took 1st place overall in a time of 8 hours, 38 minutes and 42 seconds, setting a new Ironman New Zealand record. But interestingly, she was on a Cervelo P3 that had been debadged. She basically put vinyl over the Cervelo logos to hide that. Obviously, she's not supported or an ambassador for Cervelo, so she doesn't want to give them any, I guess, unnecessary exposure. And also to other bike brands out there, they know that she's effectively on the market for a sponsorship. She had a Zentis 4-spoke wheel on the front and then a Zentis disc wheel on the back. Well, the 2nd fastest time also came from Ironman Western Australia, and that was from Kim Morrison, a time of 4 hours, 34 minutes and 53 seconds. That was aboard her Scott Plasma with an NV 7.8 wheel on the front and the Drag to Zero disc wheel on the rear. Next fastest was from Daniela Blemmel. This was from Challenge Rot, time of 4 hours, 36 minutes and 17 seconds. That gave her 3rd place overall, and that was aboard her Canyon Speed Max with a Swiss side Hadron 800 wheel on the front and the Swiss side Hadron disc on the rear. We've then got Kim Morrison again with the 4th fastest time of 2019 for the women over the iron distance. That was at Ironman Texas, a time of 4 hours, 36 minutes and 39 minutes on exactly the same setup. That Scott Plasma, envy wheel on the front, disc wheel on the rear. And then Sarah Svens, and this one's from Ironman Barcelona, 4:36.50. This gave her first overall and a new Nordic record over the iron distance. She was on a Trek Speed concept on actually quite a low profile wheel on the front, a Zip 454 NSW wheel. Still deep section, but a lot lower than we normally see in a non-drafting long distance race. Actually, we often see people using that kind of wheel for Kona with the strong crosswinds. She also had what looks like an unbranded disc wheel. It may be a Zip Super 9 disc, so correct me if I'm wrong. And Sarah, if you're watching this, let us know in the comment section below. And then I've got a 6th fastest bike time of 2019 from the women here, purely because Kim was on there twice. So it is the 5th fastest person. It's Annie Haug, Ironman Copenhagen, 4 hours, 37 minutes and 28 seconds. Gave a first place overall and a new German iron distance record. She was on her Cervelo P5 and she had the DT Swiss Arc 1100 on the front and the DT Swiss disc on the rear. And dropping down the distance again on the women's with the 70.3 middle distance. And again, not too surprisingly, there's some similarities here between the men's and the women's in terms of the events that have set these fastest bike times. Topping it though was Daniela Blemmel from Challenge Samarin, a time of 2 hours, 7 minutes and 16 seconds. On exactly the same setup she used from Challenge Rot, that Canyon Speed Max, Swiss side Hadron 800 and Swiss side disc on the rear. Second though was Anya Ipak, also from Challenge Samarin, 2 hours, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, so just behind Daniela. She was on a Quintana Roo PR6 disc, so similar to Joe, but she had it equipped with the DT Swiss Arc 1100 on the front and the DT Swiss disc on the rear. And then we had Sarah Piano. This was at Ironman 70.3 Monterey, a time of 2 hours, 9 minutes and 44 seconds. And she's also on a Canyon Speed Max, the only person on this list actually to be riding on a Shimano wheel set. She had the Shimano Dura Ace C60 on the front and the Pro Disc Techstream on the rear. And then we got Didi Greisbau. She was in 4th with a 210 at Ironman 70.3 Tech. So she's actually on a Trek Speed concept with a Reynolds AR80 on the front and the Reynolds disc on the rear. And then finally, 5th fastest time over this middle distance was Francesca Sagnana, also from Ironman 70.3 Texas, 2:11.04, and she was on a Felt IA Zip 858 on the front and a Zip Super 9 disc on the rear. So as expected, there is a wide spectrum of bikes there setting the very fastest bike times of 2019. But if we're really going to try and categorize them, then the Canyon Speed Max and the Scott Plasma seem to be the fastest bikes of 2019. I say that somewhat loosely because it obviously has a lot to do with the athletes on those bikes as well. But if we take a look at the top 5 results across the board, we had 3 riders on the Canyon Speed Max, but 4 results from that bike, if that makes sense. And the same on the Scott Plasma. The Trek Speed Concept and the Quintana Roo PR6 disc both featured a couple of times. And of course, we can't forget Starkey setting the top 2 fastest bike times of 2019 on the Orbea Audio. Then wheels-wise, the brand that really stood out was DT Swiss. Aboard 4 athletes' bikes in varying setups, we had the Arc 1100, the Arc 1400 and the disc wheel, closely followed by Zip, NV, Swiss side and Head. Whew. We've got really techie and geeky today. I hope you have enjoyed that. I certainly have, doing all this research and talking about it. It's super interesting. If you have, give this video a like, and if you'd like to see more like this from GTN, make sure that you're following us or subscribe to us on YouTube.